When you add a number onto the end of a title, it comes with certain expectations. If I said to you, Art of Rally 2, what would you imagine? A rally game expanding upon the original Art of Rally? Or an impossibly cool DeLorean driving into the infinite sunset? If you imagined the DeLorean, you just might be a developer of Project Cars 3. Project Cars 1 and 2 were simulation races at heart. They might not have been the most hardcore of sims, but it's not like they weren't trying. They laid out the entire race experience before you, from testing car setups in practice to nursing your tyres in a race to make sure they last the distance. Project Cars 3 takes an entirely different approach, and in some ways it's what I've always wanted in a racing game. That pick-up-and-play arcade sensibility hiding a heart of pure simulation. I applaud Slightly Mad Studios' intent here. There is no reason why simulation racing games need to be tedious. Why not take the best bits of arcade games and use that to improve a dry simulation racing game? The issue is that when you make two games aimed squarely at simulation racing, fans of the series are going to be upset when the third game goes in a completely different direction. The developers have tried to merge the best of simulation and arcade, but didn't quite pull off this Frankensim. To make an arcade game well, you need to do things a little bit different. Players expect to be straight into the action, no great learning curve, instant action. You just can't take a simulation core and take it to the arcade. Here's why. In a sim, players need to learn a track before they can be competitive. You spend time running practice laps, not only to learn the track, but also the car before you can head into the heat of competition. Grand Prix style circuits often have braking markers to let you know when to start braking before a turn, but many tracks don't, making that time spent practicing before a real race crucial. Just like any good arcade game, Project Cars 3 throws you straight into the action without any practice, so when you get to that first big turn, you're just gonna plow straight into the wall. If you've never driven a track before, how are you meant to know where to brake? It seems like an insurmountable problem, so how do the best arcade racers deal with it? Here is one of the all-time classic arcade racing games, Drive Club. Let's just ignore how beautiful this 2014 PS4 game looks in comparison to this 2020 release of Project Cars 3, and focus on this. These markers here tell you not only the direction of an upcoming turn by appearing on the opposite side, but they are also color-coded. Red means a sharp turn, yellow means a moderate turn, and green means you might not even have to brake. When you jump into a race in Drive Club, you don't need to know the track itself is going to tell you how you need to drive it. And it's not just track markers. Drive Club has one more trick to teach us, and that is the importance of UI speed. If turn markers aren't enough to overcome the deficit between your ambition and talent, then no problem. Hit restart, you'll quickly be back in the action for another go. The sheer speed of reload takes away a lot of the frustration. Project Cars 3 has none of the creative turn markers, and its restart while there is more painful than it needs to be. Hit the button, scroll past photo mode, replay and settings to hit restart, then confirm that you are sure, then get dumped back in another menu. Great job, guys. The issues don't stop there either. The whole career mode is a cut down version of that found in the second game, which wouldn't be an issue, except enter car tuning. You can't have a racing game without bolt-on turbos, right? I mean, what would the kids think? Tuning ruins this game in several ways, and all of them because the developers just didn't think about the impact of adding it. There are over 200 cars in this game, many varied models that I'm sure are super fun to drive. And drive I have. I've clocked over 11 hours at the time of writing this behind the wheel of Project Cars 3. So guess how many cars I have in my garage? 60? 80 maybe? Try 4. 4 cars. In total I've driven 6 of the 200 plus cars available in the game. And that's all because of tuning. You see, the way the game works is that you enter events restricted to a specific class of cars. But it's not only the class of car that matters, all events are initially locked. To unlock them, you need to either complete a set number of lower tier events, or you can slip the game a cash bribe to unlock events early. This means that when you have completed a few events and you have some cash to throw around, you have two options. Either spend all of that cash on a shiny new car for your collection and keep working away at those lower tier events, or spend half the money to unlock a higher competition tier and use the rest of that to upgrade one of your old cars. The latter is the fastest way to get to the race cars in the final stages of the game, but it means you use the same handful of cars over and over again. Why did they even bother putting in over 200 cars when they also added a play mechanic that encourages you to use the same car over and over again? Then there is the impact tuning has on the difficulty of events themselves. There are many ways to tune a car, and some of them are a lot faster than others, but the game doesn't know this. This is a big issue in time trials where one tune can make it near impossible to set the required time, but another tune can be an easy victory. A car tune should not dictate the game's balance. This isn't at all to say I'm against tuning. Just if developers feel the need to add it, then they need to spend some time thinking about how to add it. Why not have special championships just for tuned cars? After all, tuning is all about taking an average car and making it supercar fast for a budget price, so why not give bonuses for winning in the cheapest car possible? Why not have a championship where you're given a budget up front and need to shop for a base car and upgrade parts to enter? There are so many possibilities if you have some respect for the art and just a little imagination. The driving model is very much on the sim side. Out of the box I chose professional because, of course I did. This turns everything off, including things like traction control and ABS. This is great for running old cars where the only electric thing in them was a cigarette lighter. But this also forces me to run modern cars without the features they come with stock and often cannot be turned off. Hardly the most realistic setting. Every single game that allows a choice of assists must give users a real option that turns that assist on or off depending on if the real car has that assist or not. It's just another little detail that the developers didn't think of, but really should have. With this professional setting, the cars felt good, if overly twitchy. The developers have really ramped up the steering angle to make it feel more arcade. One turn of the wheel in your hand is about 2 turns in game. Damn it. How does that even happen? Okay. So when you have your wheels set up correctly, the cars aren't so twitchy anymore, but they are quite grippy. Driving Project Cars 2 and 3 back to back, I can say that both are fun. Project Cars 2 is definitely a scarier experience. Those curves can really throw the car about and it's much looser. In Project Cars 3, the car is far more planted and throwing it around becomes more natural. That's not to say it's easy though. This game has its moments. With no assists, little cars with oversized engines like this Ford Escort are a complete riot of opposite lock fun. And then there's the rain. Rain is a very welcome part of Project Cars 3, but what you are seeing here is again our benchmark arcade racing game running on a PS4 released in 2014. Take in how good this looks, then let's see what a near decade of development and a powerful PC brings to the table. Rain in Project Cars 3 is heavy-handed and honestly a bit amateur. Races can go from completely dry to Noah's Ark in a matter of seconds with absurd spray coming off the wheels. But on the plus side, those puddles aren't merely visual. Hitting one can send the car aquaplaning off to the scene of the accident in no time. But don't worry about that though, you can just bounce off the walls cause all the damage is merely cosmetic. Phew. All in all, it's hard to come to a meaningful conclusion about Project Cars 3. Sure, it should never have been called Project Cars 3. Call it Project Cars Boost or something. Keep the heritage and branding, but avoid the expectation that comes with putting a 3 on the end of it. That would have been a clear win. But even with a different name, this game would still need some help. They tried to take sim racing to the arcade, but this is no F355 challenge. You can't sprinkle some arcade spice on top of a sim and just call it a day. It's a competent racing game to be sure, but so were the 2 games before it. And so is Assetto Corsa Competizione, and so is Automobilista, and so are a lot of others. It might come down to this. If you want a sim-like racing game that focuses a lot on street cars with customization, then this is basically it. Go buy it if it's cheap enough. But if that isn't your thing, well, I have other videos for you.